Speaking Part 3, Television and Programs. 1. Do you think there are too many game shows on TV nowadays? Why? Yes, there are far too many game shows on TV for my liking. I suppose the channels show these programs because they are popular and they must be very profitable. A good example is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which has been sold to TV channels across the world. Personally, I'm not a fan of game shows, and I'd much rather watch a film or an original drama series. 2. Do you think that people pay attention to adverts on TV? Why? Yes, I think we are all influenced to some extent by TV adverts, otherwise, companies wouldn't pay so much to have them shown. Advertisers are very good at making us believe that their products or services will improve our lives in some way. For example, if you see an advert for a new phone, it plants a seed in your mind, and you start to wonder about upgrading your old phone. 1. Do you think most people watch TV for education or for entertainment? I think people watch TV primarily for entertainment. There are far more entertainment programs than educational ones, and in my experience, most people treat television as a form of relaxation in the evening. If I think about the most popular TV programs in the UK, such as talent shows like X Factor or soap operas like EastEnders, the focus is definitely on entertainment rather than education. 2. Should TV play a role in educating children? How? Yes, it definitely should play a role in my opinion. Good children's TV programs should tell stories that contain some kind of lesson about how to behave or what is morally right and wrong. Many of the traditional fairy tales, such as Cinderella, have been made into TV programs, and there is always a positive message in those stories. 3. How do you think TV viewing habits change as people get older? TV viewing habits obviously change a lot as we get older. While toddlers might watch programs about talking animals, teenagers prefer action and adventure or sports, and as adults we start taking an interest in news and politics. My own preferences, for example, have changed over the years. I would never have watched news programs when I was younger. I think it would be very strange if our viewing habits didn't mature. Speaking Part 3, Films plus Cinemas. 1. Do you think films have changed since you were a child? No, I don't think films have changed much since I was a child. When I was younger, I enjoyed watching action films, and the Hollywood formula for this type of film seems to be the same today. For example, I liked the original Superman films, and superheroes are still a popular subject for film makers. 2. As the technology for home viewing improves, do you think people will stop going to the cinema in future? No, I don't think that people will stop going to the cinema. People can already buy fantastic home viewing equipment, but it still feels more special to share the experience of watching a new film with a theater full of people. I don't think that technology will be able to replicate that cinema atmosphere. Speaking Part 3 Aims. 1. Do you think that it's better to have clear aims for the future, or is it best to take each day as it comes? I think it's best to have a good idea of what you want to do with your life, especially in terms of studies and career. Having aims allows you to plan what you need to do today and tomorrow in order to achieve longer term objectives. For example, if you want to become a doctor, you need to choose the right subjects at school, get the right exam results, and work hard at university. Without a clear aim, it would be impossible to take the necessary steps towards a career in medicine or any other profession. Speaking Part 3, Advice. 1. Is it better to get advice from a friend or from a family member? I think it depends on the kind of advice that you need. Parents and grandparents probably have more life experience than a friend, and so you might get a wiser or more sensible answer from them. On the other hand, friends are less likely to become too worried if you go to them with a problem. For example, I probably wouldn't want to burden my parents with a financial problem. 2. What would you say are the characteristics of a good advisor? Well, firstly, a good advisor should be a good listener, someone who takes the time to understand the situation before offering advice. Secondly, an advisor should try to be objective and avoid judging the person who is seeking help. Finally, I think the best advisors have the ability to ask the right questions and encourage others to find their own answers. 3. Should people make their own work and career decisions, or is it a good idea to ask for advice about this? I'd say that it's a mixture of both things. Most of us talk to family, friends, teachers, or colleagues before we make career choices. However, I believe that the final decision should rest with the individual. We all need to take ultimate responsibility for the big life choices that we make. Speaking Part 3, Holidays. 1. Do you think that it's important for people to go on holiday? Answer using idea, explain, example yes. I think we all need to go on holiday at least once or twice a year. It isn't healthy to work all year round without some time off to relax. We all need to take a break and recharge our batteries from time to time. Last summer, for example, I went on holiday to France for a couple of weeks, and it was great to leave all of my usual responsibilities behind me. I came home feeling really refreshed and reinvigorated. 2. Why do you think some people prefer not to go abroad on holiday? Answer using firstly, secondly. Finally, I suppose there are different reasons why some people choose not to go abroad on holidays. Firstly, it's usually more expensive to travel abroad than it is to stay at home. A second reason could be that some people find it stressful to spend time in a foreign country where they don't speak the language, or where they feel that they can't easily integrate with the locals. Finally, many people just love where they live and don't feel the need to travel abroad. 12. Newspaper. 1. In your opinion, are newspaper important? Yes, in my opinion, newspapers are very important because they give us information about what is happening around the world. They are a vital source of knowledge about education, technology, medicine, and many other fields. If newspapers didn't exist, I think the quality of news coverage would suffer because there would be fewer professional journalists. We would have to rely, for example, on unpaid bloggers who do not have the budgets to carry out detailed research before they write an article. Speaking Part 3. Hobbies, leisure activities. 1. Did your grandparents have more free time when they were younger? When my grandparents were young, I think they had less leisure time. They didn't have the gadgets we use nowadays, so they probably spent more time doing simple things. For example, nowadays we can cook meals in a microwave in less than 5 minutes, whereas in the past people had to cook everything themselves. 2. Do you think hobbies people have will be different in the future? No, I don't think hobbies will change much in the future. I'm sure people will still play games and sports. On the other hand, maybe the internet is changing the way we spend our free time. In the future, more and more people might have online hobbies. 3. Do you think it's important for people to have hobbies? Why? Yes, I think people need to have hobbies because we all need to do things we enjoy in our spare time. In my case, I find that playing football once a week with some friends helps me to relax, keep fit, and forget about work. I think it's the same for everyone. 4. Can hobbies have any negative effects? Yes, if you spend too much time on your hobby, it can affect other parts of your life. I remember that one of my friends spent most of his time at university playing computer games instead of studying. In the end, he failed most of his exams. 5. What is the relationship between leisure and the economy? Well, people spend a lot of money on all sorts of leisure activities nowadays, so I think leisure is a very important part of the economy of most countries. Leisure could be anything that people do in their free time, such as eating out, going to the cinema, watching a football match, or staying in a hotel. Millions of people are employed in these areas. 6. How does the economy benefit from people's leisure activities? The leisure industry makes a huge contribution to the economy. As I said before, it keeps millions of people in employment, and all of these employees pay their taxes and have money to spend on other goods and services. At the same time, most people spend some of their earnings on leisure activities, and this money therefore goes back into the economy. 7. Do men and women enjoy the same type of leisure activities? Yes and no. I think both men and women enjoy things like eating in restaurants or going to the cinema, but I'm sure there are other activities that are more popular with one gender. For example, I think more men than women go to football matches. Speaking Part 3. Parties. 1. What types of party do people have, and why are parties important? People have parties to celebrate special occasions like birthdays, weddings, or the beginning of a new year. I think it's important to celebrate these things because they are landmarks in our lives. Parties are a good way to bring people together, and they're an opportunity to let off some steam. 2. Why do you think some people like parties but others hate them? Most people like parties because they have a good time, eating a nice meal, chatting to friends, or having a dance. People who don't like them might find social situations difficult because they are shy, or maybe they don't enjoy having to make small talk with people they don't know. 3. Do you think parties will become more popular in the future? No, I don't think anything will change. People have always had parties, and I'm sure they always will in the future. Humans need to socialize and enjoy themselves, and parties are one of the best ways to do that. Speaking Part 3. Wildlife. 1. What effects do you think humans have on wild animals? Humans have a huge impact on wild animals. We have destroyed a lot of natural habitats, and many animals are in danger of extinction. Tigers and rhinos, for example, are endangered species because of humans. The pollution and waste that we produce also have an effect on animals. In some places, there are no fish in the rivers. 2. What measures could we take to protect wildlife? I think we need stricter rules to protect natural areas and the wild animals that live there. For example, we should stop cutting down trees in the rainforest. National parks are a good idea because they attract tourists while protecting wildlife. 3. Is it the responsibility of schools to teach children about protecting wildlife? Yes, schools can play a big part in educating children about this issue. Children should learn how to look after the natural environment. I think schools already teach children about endangered species and the destruction of rainforests, so hopefully future generations will do a better job of protecting wildlife. Speaking Part 3, Sports. 1. Why do you think sport is important? I think sport is important for different reasons. For me, doing a sport is about having fun. When I play football, for example, I forget about everything else and just enjoy myself. Also, doing a sport helps you to keep fit and healthy, and it's a good way to socialize and make friends. 2. Do you think famous sports people are a good role model for children? I think that sports people should be good role models. Children look up to their favorite football players, like David Beckham, for example, so I think that these people have an enormous responsibility. They should try to be a good influence and behave in the right way. 3. Do you agree that sports stars earn too much money? In my opinion, it's fair that the best sports people earn a lot of money. Being a top sports person requires hours of practice, and there are millions of sports fans who are willing to pay to see them play. If we don't want sports people to earn so much money, we shouldn't go to watch them. Speaking Part 3, Education. 1. What do you think makes a good lesson? I think a good lesson is one that is interesting and engaging. By engaging, I mean that the students should feel involved in the lesson. They should feel that they are learning something new that is relevant to them. In my opinion, a lot depends on how the teacher delivers the content of the lesson in a way that students like. My favorite teacher at university used to involve the students by making us teach some of the lessons ourselves. 2. Do you think it's better to have a teacher or to teach yourself? Well, there's no substitute for a good teacher. I think you can teach yourself, but you can learn a lot more quickly with the guidance of a teacher. For example, when learning a language, you really need someone to correct your mistakes. You can get the grammar and vocabulary from books, but books can't tell you where you're going wrong. 3. Do you think the traditional classroom will disappear in the future? I don't think it will disappear, but it might become less common. I think more people will study independently, using different technologies rather than sitting in a classroom. Maybe students will attend a lesson just once a week and spend the rest of their time following online courses or watching video lessons. Speaking Part 3, Transport. 1. What types of transport are there in your town? In Manchester, I think you can find every form of transport apart from an underground system. You can drive around the city by car or get on a bus. There are even free buses that take people between the train stations. Manchester also has a tram system, and of course there are taxis 2.2. How has transport changed since your grandparents were young? Well, they had cars, trains, and planes back then, and London already had the underground system. But I suppose the difference is that technology has moved on. Having said that, the transport system is not necessarily better nowadays. People travel a lot more, and I'm sure we spend more time stuck in traffic. 3. What types of transport do you think we will use in the future? I'm not sure, but hopefully we'll have cars that drive themselves and never crash. I think we'll probably fly more, and it might become normal to have your own plane. On the other hand, many cities are building more bicycle lanes, so maybe we will use cars less for getting around towns and cities.